So news just broke that the Hollywood actors strike is over. What does this mean for The Chosen? And what does it mean for season 4 and season 5? Well, a lot of good things actually. So let's jump into this. If you didn't know, for the past 6 months, the actors have been on strike, and even longer than that beforehand, the writers have been on strike. A strike like this has not happened since the 60s, and it really made the Hollywood industry come to a screeching halt. If they didn't have writers, they could only do unscripted shows like reality shows, or if they didn't have actors, they couldn't have actors in their shows. So this really halted a lot of different things, especially the movie industry. So they've been waiting for a long time to get back to work. Last month, the writers came to a deal, and now yesterday, the actors came to a deal as well. It's a tentative deal for now, but they're really confident that this is going to go through. Now, the National Committee is going to look at the rest of the details on Friday, and then they'll release it to us after that, so maybe we'll look at it again. But this is really exciting for the productions that we've been waiting to come through, and it takes a lot of the strings out of The Chosen Season 5 specifically. So what were these strikes even about? Well, mostly it came down to two things: money and AI. The money portion of it was talking about the streaming royalties that are now more prominent in today's world. As we know, not a lot of us are watching TV anymore. We're watching YouTube and Hulu and HBO and Netflix, Disney Plus. And so all of these different platforms have streams that you go to and you watch. And for each stream, whoever makes that thing gets a certain amount of money. And so the actors weren't really getting any of that money. It was all going back towards these huge corporations that made the movies or shows in the first place. This caused a lot of issues because these actors weren't getting royalties like they used to on certain shows or certain TV programs. And the same thing goes for the writers here. They weren't getting fairly compensated for their time in putting in the work to make this product and not getting any royalty on the back end. Of course, we have in our minds that actors and writers make like a ton of money, but a lot of these people who are living in LA and New York, they're barely making enough to make ends meet a lot of the times. And so of course, this is a big thing that they wanted to fight for during this whole strike. And the second thing may arguably be even bigger, and that's the AI subject. This is a huge thing because on a lot of different fronts, AI has made leaps and bounds over the last couple of years when it comes to writing scripts or even creating language models or 3D models. It's really an interesting technology that's going to be amazing, but right now it's kind of scary, especially for Hollywood and especially for the actors and writers. Imagine if a studio could create a 3D model of your face and then it just uses it wherever it wants. And they don't have to pay for extras anymore. They don't have to pay for background actors. They could just use a 3D model of you without even paying you, or paying you very little for that. While the technology is amazing, just imagine what these big corporate studios could do to try to save money and make sure that a lot of people don't have jobs in the end of it. These were two of the biggest things that the strikes were trying to prevent and trying to fix. And it seems like both strikes have come to a pretty good tentative agreement. The writer's strike has some time frames and loopholes that seem a little bit wonky. Seems like the actor's strike may have done a little bit better, but we don't have any details on that quite yet. Now let's talk specifically about The Chosen Season 4 and 5, what this means for that. So for The Chosen Season 4, this was actually a really interesting thing because they had a temporary waiver, essentially, to bypass this strike and to allow their actors to promote Season 4, allow their actors to talk about Season 4, because that was another big thing about the strikes, is that you're not allowed to promote these projects that you've already finished or that you're being a part of right now. You're only allowed to kind of like vaguely talk about them and not really dive into them at all. This made ChosenCon extremely hard for us because we were interviewing actors. And so because we're interviewing Sag-Aftra actors, we couldn't talk about seasons 1 through 3 of The Chosen because they weren't allowed to promote those seasons. The only season they were allowed to talk about and promote was Season 4. So it made it really difficult because Season 4 is not out yet. And we had to talk to these characters about who they are and what they were doing. And so we mostly focused on their actual lives instead of the characters in the show, which is kind of weird for a ChosenCon interview. But that's no longer an issue, and we'll be able to talk about all of The Chosen in upcoming interviews or different things that we do with the Chosen actors, which is going to be great. Now, for Season 5 specifically, this means that we'll be able to start production on time, which is amazing. There's not going to be any lost days or any other interim agreements that we'll have to go into in order to avoid this strike or to do anything else. Now, regardless, I thought that season 5 was going to be okay, but this will make it much easier for all the actors and for all the production and everything to go through the way that it needs to. That means that most likely The Chosen season 5 will start shooting in the springtime-ish after season 4 has aired in theaters, as we've seen, and then we'll continue on in that process. I think The Chosen's trying to keep the gaps in between seasons shorter and shorter, but they want to do obviously a yearly release, so that's kind of how things are going to work this time. As a Christian media channel, I'm super excited that the actors strike is over. There's some projects that I'm really looking forward to getting into in the next couple of months and in the next year as well. So keep an eye out from us, and we'll definitely update you on the actors strike and on everything else in Christian media. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace. Oh, and what are your thoughts on the actors strike? Let me know down below.